Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're tackling a really big question. How do you take a perfected legal filing and actually make it do something, like automatically discharge bank debt? Well, we're going to break down a system designed to do exactly that. We'll follow a process called the digital conveyor belt from start to finish.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. A lot of people get this far. You've done the hard work, you've filed your UCC paperwork, you've got your proof of funds secured, and then you kind of hit a wall. The big question everyone asks is, how do I make these powerful legal instruments actually work for me? You know, to discharge a debt, especially inside a system like the Guns of Goldie's Business Trust.
Well, the answer lies in this really structured, automated process, what they call a digital conveyor belt. It's all powered by something called the Private Sovereign Treasury Operating System, or PSTOS for short. Just think of it as the engine that takes your legal documents and translates them into a series of actions that a machine can enforce. It's all about getting a predictable and secure outcome, step by step. Okay, so phase one. This is all about legal finalization. This is the moment where your security agreement and your promissory note go from just being draft documents to being legally perfected, fully ready for the digital world. And this crucial first step is called the notary gate. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The whole thing hinges on a concept called animus. That's a fancy word for your living human intent. See, a civil law notary doesn't just stamp a piece of paper here. They conduct a formal ceremony to certify that your intent is real. And this is so critical because it makes your agreement the law between the parties. It creates this rock-solid legal foundation that helps prevent any disputes down the road.
So this ceremony is basically the bridge from the physical world to the digital one. The notary administers an oath, they witness your acknowledgement, and they execute what's called a jurat. In doing so, they create these unique digital fingerprints of the whole legal act using something called SHA-256 hashes. Then, and this is the key part, those hashes get permanently locked onto a specialized blockchain called the notary chain. What you've just created is an unchangeable judicial record. And legally speaking, under UCC Article 12, this process establishes digital control over your documents, which is the exact equivalent of physically holding them in your hand.
All right, so your documents are now legally perfect and digitally locked down. But the system doesn't just go on autopilot. Not yet. The next stop on our conveyor belt is a super important human checkpoint, the human governance gate, which is also known as the allowance gate.
At this point, all the information about that bank debt gets neatly packaged into something called an economic value record, or an EVR. The easiest way to think about this is like a standardized evidence file. It's a digital container that holds all the details, the specific dollar value, and all the proof the system needs to move forward.
And this brings us to a really crucial point of control. This system is not some fully automated black box making decisions on its own. A real live human fiduciary, a trustee, has to review that EVR and physically click Approve. It's that deliberate human action, that choice, that officially recognizes the bank debt as a bookable receivable on the trust books. No assets get created without that explicit human go-ahead. So, we've got the legal foundation poured, we've got the green light from the fiduciary. Now the system is armed and ready for activation. This next phase is all about flipping the switch and unlocking its full automated power. And this is the switch, $2,500. It's an aggregate balance threshold, but it's known as the fiduciary trigger. Hitting this number is what turns on all the powerful automated sequences that are about to happen. And this visual really drives home the power of that trigger. Crossing this financial threshold isn't just about paying some fee. It's the spark that ignites the entire engine. It simultaneously kicks off automated compliance checks, it starts the tokenization workflows, and it connects your account to that all-important master insurance policy. It all happens at once.
And speaking of that master insurance, this is a huge deal. As soon as that trigger is met, your account is immediately covered by a $100 million master insurance shield from none other than Lloyd's of London. I mean, this adds a massive layer of security and underwriting for everything in the system. It gives the whole operation serious institutional-grade credibility. Okay, now for the fun part, tokenization. The system now mints a unique, non-fungible token, what the crypto world calls an ERC-721. The absolute best way to think about this is as the digital twin of your notarized legal claim. It's like a one-of-a-kind digital deed of ownership, turning your legal claim into a verifiable and tradable asset right on the blockchain.
So you've got this valuable tokenized asset, but you still need cold hard cash to pay the bank, right? This brings us to what feels like alchemy. How does the system generate liquid cash for the settlement without you having to sell your underlying asset?
It does this using a really clever dual token system. So on one hand, you have your unique claim, represented by that ERC-721 NFT we just talked about. Think of that as the deed to your house. It proves ownership and access collateral. Then against that collateral, the system can mint liquid, interchangeable settlement coins, called ERC-20s. These are like your standard digital cash, the spendable value you actually need to pay off the debt.
And this is where a pretty powerful idea called the 23/5% model comes into play. The system is essentially mining credit against your tokenized asset, which allows it to generate what's known as non-recourse funding. And that's key. It means you get the cash you need for the settlement, but without putting your other personal assets at risk. In this example, it activates a $50,000 executive stipend card, giving you that immediate liquidity.
All right, the legal work is done, the human approval is in, the liquidity is ready to go. Now it is time for the final act, paying the bank. And this step is appropriately called firing the gold bullet.
12 seconds. That's it. Let that sink in. That is how long the entire settlement operation takes. Borrowing the funds, paying the bank, and repaying the loan. It all happens in the time it takes for a single block to get confirmed on the blockchain. It is, for all intents and purposes, instantaneous. This incredible feat is made possible by something called an atomic flash loan, which is one of the most powerful instruments in all of decentralized finance. The key word here is atomic, as in indivisible. In one single unstoppable transaction, the system borrows the cash the bank needs, it satisfies the debt, and it instantly repays that loan using the internal value of your tokenized assets, all in one go.
But what if something goes wrong, you ask? Well, that's the genius of the built-in safety net, the atomic reversion shield. If any single part of that 12-second sequence fails, for any reason whatsoever, the entire transaction is instantly canceled. It just reverts as if it never even happened. It's a true all-or-nothing deal that completely protects the trust from any possibility of loss.
So, the debt is paid, the smoke clears. The final step on our digital conveyor belt is to create a permanent, undeniable, and bulletproof record of the settlement. This all gets bundled into a regulator-ready audit pack. And to create that proof, the system mints a really special kind of token called a soul-bound token, or SBT. Now, this digital receipt is non-transferable. You can think of it as being permanently bound to your account's soul. It serves as irrefutable prima facie evidence that the obligation has been fully satisfied, and it becomes the crown jewel of that final audit pack.
And this roadmap just sums up the whole journey perfectly. It all starts with the notary, witnessing human intent and anchoring it to the blockchain. Then the admin provides that crucial human oversight at the allowance gate. Then the client pays the trigger fee to kick the whole thing into gear. And finally, the system fires that gold bullet and issues the permanent digital receipt. From law to human choice to code to finality, it's the whole conveyor belt in 4 steps.
You know, this whole process brings up a really profound question. We're moving from a world where legal agreements need people to argue about them and enforce them, to a world where they can literally execute themselves, automatically and verifiably. So, what does that kind of fundamental shift really mean for the future of finance, of law, and of trust itself? Something to think about.